It's silly to even ask, can you feel that? Do you feel like you just took a journey straight into the source to be nourished, nurtured, reminded? That experience, that practice of feeling our nature, of feeling nurtured, is a lot of what this spiritual journey, this spiritual path is about. And we have moments, do we not, where we get it and we feel it and we go, that's it. Nothing else matters. Circumstances, situations, relationships, ideas, illusions, delusions, nothing else matters. Because right here, right now, I'm good. Right here and right now, I know and I feel my wholeness and my oneness. And words can't capture that because it's an experience. Words can't even tell about that or retell that because it's an experience. But it's not always the experience we have, is it? We are here in the third week of a 5-week series based on the book The Zen Commandments by Dean Slider. The Zen Commandments are tools for higher spiritual living. And this week our tools are keep it simple and be devoted. Now, I could guess that song that Jack shared with us is an embodiment, an expression of that pure experience of pure and absolute devotion, of knowing that there's no veil anymore, no separation, that in fact, the one breath that binds all life is the fullness of the experience right here and right now. Have you thought about that? Have you noticed that all life inhales and exhales of the same substance? Even a tree is inhaling and exhaling. It might not look like we do, but we are all. In fact, are we inhaling or exhaling, or are we being inhaled and exhaled? Are we being breathed? Today is about some conscious awareness around that experience of moving into devoting our lives and devoting our energy to this consciousness. Because we do have choices, do we not? There are other things we can devote ourselves to. We might not call it devotion. We might have a lot of other names for these other experiences. But in fact, we have power, we have life, and we have energy. It has been given to us. It is activated through us. And it is ours to express it creatively out in our world and to devote it. The human condition, though always breathing and always open, do you believe that this experience that we just had, this nurturing experience of peace, do you believe that it is always there, available? That it doesn't move away from you? That there aren't times and places and spaces or things that you could even do or think that make it unavailable? That make you unworthy to it, to have it, to experience it, right? It can't move away from you. You're saturated in it, immersed in it, but we can somehow, sometimes in consciousness, back away from it, put up veils, and separate ourselves from the experience of it, no? The human condition is one that does this through making meaning. Making meaning, organizing thoughts, ideas, and emotions, grouping, categorizing, sorting, segmenting, joining, judging. And through that process, the veil can seemingly be thickened. The problem, and not so much the problem, but suffering, can lie in the dedication or devotion of these processes that are very natural, our thoughts, our emotions, but the devotion and dedication of them to the ideas and the stories of separation, victimization, pain. It can be as if on autopilot there's a story being written and the emotions are being thrust and the thoughts are being thrust all in the direction of a story that no longer serves our highest purpose. Often a very complicated story that keeps us from our experience of Godness. When the meaning-making and organizing and grouping is all working for the aspect of the psyche that has an experience of separation, it can become a default mechanism. It can become ingrained, just like the Grand Canyon was formed from a small river. It can form a great void in our experience. Dean Slider talks about it in his book when he starts speaking about our story and what it is to complicate our story. He says some people make things complicated by, and this is not a judgment, because when I read this, I thought about all the journalers, all of the happy journalers. Some people make things complicated by filling journals with long, convoluted entries, recording not only the events of their lives, but their feelings about the events and their feelings about having those feelings and other people's feelings about those feelings. And part of the problem is confusion about what feelings actually are. As the word implies, there's something you feel, an essentially physical sensation. How can this idea of what a feeling is bring us into a new transformation of consciousness? He goes on to say, feelings are spontaneous. They're just there and are therefore simple. Have we all had the experience where we know our feelings to just be simple? Just simple. My feelings are just simple. They're just feelings. They're just simple. Or are they mountains and canyons and volcanoes and tornadoes that wreak havoc on our own being, our health, our lives, our livelihood, our families, our world, internal and external? What if feelings were just feelings? What if they were just simple? He says, our stories about them are as complicated as we make them. So one way to keep our lives simple is to cut through the stories and come back to the feelings, to feel them raw and direct, not filtered through a sieve of thoughts. Feel them direct, not filtered through the thoughts. Has anyone tried this on? Something happens when we're willing to do that. Something happens when we jump into that automatic process where it goes feeling, mountain of thoughts, volcano or tornado, and we just breathe and we allow a feeling to be a feeling. Something happens. I've experienced it almost like the breath carrying that feeling because there's no attachment. There's nothing sitting there waiting within to clasp onto it and to say, this one goes here. This one goes with all of those ones. This one fulfills those judgments. This one has a very special place. I'm going to put it right here in my heart. He goes on to say that the practice, instead of attaching and latching on, becomes to let it flood. With the emotion, with the feeling, let it flood. He says anger, grief, joy, surprise, feelings we can't even name, whatever is there, take a moment to drop everything else and let it be there. Without judgment, fully experiencing the richness of its flavor. Is this a different practice? I have a simple feeling. Let me pause to experience the richness of its flavor. I have a simple feeling. Let me pause to experience the richness of its flavor. Would you say that with me? I have a simple feeling. Let me pause to experience the richness of its flavor. Are we willing to try that on? Are we willing to practice that and to see what happens? He goes on to say, at the same time, don't fixate. Rest in openness to whatever appears, including your feelings. This is followed by, in fact, by finally allowing yourself to feel your feelings until they've run their course, you'll probably find that the urge, this is the key piece, the piece why we hold on and we don't allow ourselves to do that, because we sit there and think about and worry about, well, what's going to be there when I'm done? I've got to analyze this. I've got to fix it. I've got to solve it. I've got to move it. I've got to change it. It's so uncomfortable right here. I can't live in it or stay in it. But here's the portal. He says, in fact, by allowing yourself to follow your feelings until they've run their course, you'll probably find that the urge to act them out, along with the compulsion to analyze them, has evaporated. Are we ready for some divine evaporation in our lives? That's a key to activating the moments where we can experience our union with life. But the human condition wants to repel those feelings. Feelings are in our nature. It's part of our nature to feel, right? So why would we make that aspect of ourselves wrong and spend a lifetime trying to correct something that is in our nature rather than applying and activating tools that actually propel transformation, that actually lift us into new experiences of the divine? It's in our nature to make meaning and to sort. It's in our nature to have feelings. Here's one other thing that Dean Slider says is in our nature. This is an interesting one that you might not think of. He says that it is in our nature to be devoted. That it is in our nature to be devoted. Our impulse towards devotion, I suspect, is so deeply ingrained that we all look for objects toward which to direct it. We're built for it in the way that birds are built for flight. He goes on to say, so the question is not whether, but to what or whom you will be devoted. By harnessing our natural tendency towards devotion and pointing it towards an appropriate object, we can put it to the service of liberation. This is not merely an emotional or attitudinal shift, but a perceptual transformation. Can we honor that aspect of self rather than trying to reject it or conform it or hide it, that aspect of self that is wired towards devotion in a healthy and positive and prosperous way? So much of our energy goes into the time that it takes to heal, to shift what, if rightly understood, is a beautiful, perfect aspect of our perfect and whole nature. So can we jump into the idea of not resisting it? Don't resist it. Instead, devote it. Devote experiences to finding the divine. We talked about devotion and the idea that devotion is happening all the time. But we're not always devoting our energy and our emotions, our thoughts and our feelings to that which we want to expand. So if devotion is part of our nature, can we, in every experience, in every encounter, devote ourselves, devote the moment to experiencing the divine, like the song that Jack had, experiencing the breath, experiencing the oneness. Self is seeking purpose, and we have but one purpose. And that purpose is to experience our wholeness, to experience love. There's a great saying that says you're either part of the solution or part of the problem. And we can use that in any moment to pause, not to ask ourselves so much, am I part of the solution or part of the problem? Because that would be simplified. It's really asking a moment in consciousness. Is my conscious awareness of this, how I'm using this moment, is this part of the solution in my life? The solution. Or is it part of the problem? Is it leading me? Am I devoting this moment into separation? Or am I devoting this moment to union? You're either part of the solution or part of the problem. A Course in Miracles says you're either in a moment of love or a moment of fear. If we look at our new teachings, Eckhart Tolle, etc., they talk about a pain body. You're either in presence, we're presencing something, we're fully present right here in the moment, just presencing it, or we can be in a pain body. But what is the way? What is the process? The process can be taking every moment and every relationship and every experience and saying, I see the divine in you, not because the world told me it's there, but because I know it in my heart that this is what connects me to life, this is what connects me in this moment, and I declare my right to experience God right here. The next idea he talks about is idolatry. A fun one. Idolatry. He says that the commandment against bowing down to idols or graven images in the older translations emphasizes the problem is fixing yourself on limited or rigid ideas as if etched in stone. The more rigid images can be, the ones graven in our minds, our fixed ideas of the way things are, the way things really are, is bigger than our ideas. Are we willing to release the ideas of idolizing, the categorizing of experiences and emotions, and building them up for a purer form of worship? See, a lot of times we don't recognize what we're building. And the creative process is one in that we have thoughts, we have feelings, we have belief systems, but our part, our job, not a passive job, our part is to dedicate them. To dedicate them. To dedicate them to unity, to dedicate them to oneness. Worshipping false idols. If we look at the word worship, that means to praise or to focus or to give attention to have reverence or adoration for. That might not be the language we think of when we become fixated on suffering, but it can fit, can't it? It can fit that we're worshiping the separate self. We can be worshiping our pain if we are focusing on it, giving it attention, lifting it up, and in fact even having reverence for it. And the idol is just the image or the representation rather than an experience. We're flooded with images and representations, but life is about experiences. And devotion. Devotion is really to be in love with, to harmonize with. Loyalty, strong support for. Are we putting our strong support towards our patterns, or are we putting our strong support towards the infinite? Our enthusiasm for. Enthusiasm is a nice way to say it, and we know when we say enthusiasm, we're talking about something good. But I know within my being, within myself, within this world, there's a lot of enthusiasm for other things, isn't there? So what are we devoted to? In John 14:6, Jesus was speaking with the disciples, and he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father, no one comes to the source except through me. There's some images there, there's some ideas there, and there is also a story about an experience there, isn't there? A lot of people take that passage from the Bible and they use it to separate. They use it to segregate. They use it to shut down, right? But the master teacher, the great rabbi, didn't say This image of me is the way. He said, I am, the I am nature. The pure path is the way. It is the truth, it is the light, and it is only through this beautiful awareness of God, consciousness of oneness, this dedication of everything, thought, emotion, pure beingness, seeing the light in each other, that absolute devotion to connect. The breath in me is the breath in you, is the breath in all life. Only and not limited to all of that is the way to pure freedom and to pure experience of God consciousness. Now, whatever people have done with that story or that idea to separate and to segregate is what it is. But it can be ours to take it on for freedom. It can be ours to take it on for our liberation. I am the way. The I am. The pure experiencer is the way. See, when we hold on to the rigid ideas, something else happens. But if we take on the presencing of pure awareness, there is freedom there. Peeling off the layers of the ideas, of the sorting, of the beliefs that limit us, and birthing into the ideas of experience. So what are some of the serious tools? What are some of the real hands-on what we can do? The first we went over, when we have emotions, can we just feel them? As I was driving here this morning, there was a little badger on the side of the road. Was it a badger? Groundhog? A groundhog. So he was right there on the side of the road. And I was driving along, and he was really close to the edge of the road. If I'm right here, I mean, it was like you could just knock him off right there. He was right there. And he was having a good old time eating something. He was on his feet, lifted up, just nibbling, right on the side of the road. Right, you probably passed him, right? Right there on the side of the road, just nibbling, having a good old time. And there I right by him. And I'm thinking, buddy, you are so close. Run, what are you doing? Go, run, save yourself. Save yourself. Someone from church is going to hit you. And all of a sudden, as I had that thought, I realized that is what our emotions do and our mind does with our emotions. That groundhog is there as the experiencing her, just sitting there going, I am doing what I am doing. I am not going to move from this place. I am experiencing my moment. But the psyche says, oh my gosh, it is so dangerous. Don't go there. Don't feel it. Run, hide, save yourself. Do anything you can, but don't stay there. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. But it's not. Is it? So can we remind ourselves that even as the vehicles are passing by, even as we hear the screaming sounds that say, run and save yourself, we can have that awareness and just stay planted, continuing to experience the experience of what it is to feel and devote all of our senses of feeling to the Most High. The next is to really take a look at who and what am I devoted to? To really ask ourselves that question. Who and what am I devoted to? Am I devoted to serving these ideas of separation, of building up my story of injury and separation and pain? Or am I devoted to my stuff? Am I devoted to my mind and my workings, my analyzing? What am I devoted to? To really authentically ask that question. Where am I spending my time? What is my devotion? Or do I have a practice where I am devoted to, in every relationship, pressing through everything else and seeing the God in you, seeing the divine, and greeting everything and saying, hello, divine. Hello, divine. Hello, divine. What do you have for me today? In Jeremiah 6:16, it says, stand at the crossroads and look and ask for the ancient paths and find rest in your souls. We are here to see God in everything, in everyone, and it's that simple. Namaste. It is the time in our service that we get a lot of love in our hands, and we bless our tithes and offerings as we engage in the law of circulation. So as you know that your blessing makes a difference, we circulate in this way. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. So it is.
Just as Erin talked about seeing God in everything, I've invited my wonderful friend, Skip Sams, is going to help me out. He was here for the retreat today, y'all. Let's give it up for Mr. Skip. Got some lyrics we'd love to have you sing along, y'all. I see joy, I see peace, I see goodness surrounding me. I see love in every breath I breathe. I see God in everything. I see happiness, I see freedom. I see the beauty that lives in me. I see perfection in what life brings. I see God in there. Now we feel it. I feel joy, I feel peace. Come on, y'all. I feel goodness surrounding me. I feel love in every breath I breathe. I feel God in every, that's it. I feel happiness, I feel freedom. I feel the beauty that lives in me. I feel perfection in what life brings. I feel God in everything. Next time we're going to choose, because you know it's always our choice, y'all. I choose joy, I choose peace. I choose goodness surrounding me. I choose love in every breath I breathe. I choose God in everything. I choose happiness, I choose freedom. I choose the beauty that lives in me. I choose perfection in what life brings. I choose God in everything. I know joy, I know peace. I know goodness surrounding me. I know love in every breath I breathe. I know God in everything. I know happiness, I know freedom. I know the beauty that lives in me. I know perfection in what life brings. I know God in everything. Big finish now. I know God in everything. Awesome. Namaste, everybody. It was so wonderful to be with you this morning.
A hand for Jack Fowler. Skip, thank you for joining us. For our fantastic retreat that is in town. Let us put all of our love and our energy and our attention together as we bless this tithe and offering. We bless this offering and dedicate it to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth, the Spirit of life, love, and wisdom, the Spirit of freedom that exists for all beings. And in dedication to the demonstration of the principle that bows and says namaste to everything, to everyone, knowing that the light in me beholds the light in you. And so it is. Amen.
Our prayer team is up here in the front of the auditorium, and we invite all of you to come forward if you would like someone to stand and hold you in the light and know the truth of your being with you. And so let us stand together. We'll sing our peace song, followed by the prayer for protection.
The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is.